Hey guys, welcome back to the Wannabe Winners Fantasy Football League. I'm Kyle.
I'm Steve.
So obviously week 1 football, we're so hyped. It was so nice to finally get to watch a Sunday full of games.
Especially after that disappointing Thursday matchup.
That was a bad game, but they gave us some really good ones on Sunday. So along with Sunday games comes some Sunday fantasy, and a lot of matchups got won and lost just in those Sundays games. The Monday games didn't even matter. So yeah, we want to give us a good recap?
Absolutely. Things actually turned out basically how we thought they would. Most of the guys that we thought would win did end up putting up big numbers, and a lot of the guys that we said were going to struggle, teams showed it. Now the first matchup, my ball Zach Ertz took me down 134 to 115. That's not a bad matchup. Had some guys go off. I didn't have some guys play too well, but that's the way it starts. Our number 1 pick from the draft, Brian's team, changed name this week to Ramsey's AllSucks team. Love it, Brian. He put up the biggest score of the week with 146.5 points. Good job, Brian. Way to take him down.
Really badly, too.
Alright, next matchup was Drew 2 taking down Dakstreet's back. Another high score, 137 for Drew. Another guy that we had up there. Way to go. Trevor, Wannabe Winners, we said you had a good team, good management, and it showed this week, putting up almost 134 points to take down Cookin with glass. Now, one of the matchups that we said was going to be a little bit closer ended up not being close because both teams had low scores, didn't really have guys perform too well. But Parziale did pull out a 107 to 68 win over Tyler's team. 68, I don't see too much problem in that. That's usually just a week where all your guys didn't do well. I'm not seeing too much problem with that. That's just bad. There's a problem, but an outlier like that is just hard. And the last one, another guy that we had up there beginning of the draft, Cody's Choice team took down Deflatriots with a score of almost 140 to 114. Another good team, another good score. That draft's really proven to have shaken out pretty well.
Yeah, so congrats to the winners. Better luck to the next weeks for the losers. Me, Steve. So yeah, your co-commissioners didn't get a win this week, but we're going to be fighting back again next week. And to get back to another level, it starts with waivers. So we're going to go over a quick highlight of some of the waivers that we thought were more important. So to start off with, we had myself. I picked up Quincy Enunwa for only $2. This is mainly because he was the most targeted wide receiver on a team that did better than everybody expected.
So the Jets obviously put up a huge game last week. Don't expect them to continue that throughout the entire season. But for the fact that they did so good, I think that's a pretty good pickup with a new one for the week.
I liked it. So we had a pickup of San Fran's defense, and they dropped Detroit's defense. We think that's pretty big because they're actually facing each other. So this kind of shows Brian's idea.
No, that was actually Steve Parziale.
Oh, sorry,
he picked up San Fran and dropped Detroit. I agree that both teams didn't look too good, but I think San Fran looked a little bit better than Detroit. So picking up their defense this week instead of keeping Detroit's, good play.
I like it.
I picked up Brandon Marshall for $11 on the waiver wire, which this guy's a little mad about because he put $10 down on it.
$1. Who
Guys,
knows?
that $1 makes a huge difference. One piece of advice when you're using the free agent auction budget, try not to do rounded up numbers because most of the time someone's going to put that extra $1 or $2 down. Unless you're going to go for a big $30, $40 auction, try and stay away from those even numbers. But Brandon Marshall, especially now with Doug Baldwin being out, might pick up some huge catches, even over Tyler Lockett, especially in the red zone. So
yeah,
I'm happy with that.
I would be.
And the last one we wanted to highlight for the waivers, Trevor spent a total of $10 this week on his free agents. He picked up 2. One of them was Eric Ebron. He had Delaney Walker go down, so good pickup for $5 to Eric Ebron. For what was left on the waiver, that's not a bad choice. Good spending, but you spent $5 on a defense. Even though it's Chicago's defense, that's tough. Most of the time, you're not going to get too much value out of them. I personally wouldn't spend more than $3 because you're not expecting more than 2 other people to go for it. So, a little disappointed, Trevor, but good learning experience.
I hope it works out for you. So now we're just going to jump right into the matchups that are going to be here for week 2.
So actually, this week for the matchups, we both picked the same guys for every single matchup to win. So I think that either shows a little bit of dominance or a little bit of struggle for the other guy.
And I personally hope we're wrong for a lot of them, because we don't want the picks to be so obvious. So it was weird. We picked every single pick, but we want to be wrong too. So I'm going to go over the first matchup, which is actually going to be Steve's matchup. PokeMoncrief versus Cookin with Class. This is an interesting matchup because both have decent starting wide receiver 1, Devontae Adams and Odell, and then their wide receiver 2 and 3s are really good supporting cast. I think that Cookin with Class has a little bit better running backs. With Cook and Adrian Peterson, they really have the upside, especially Adrian Peterson's versus the Colts. I do like your new tight end that you took from your bench and decided to start him, Jared Cook. He had 180 yards receiving last week. He could be amazing. So that could win you a week in itself. Besides that, Pittsburgh defense and New England defense, you guys are kind of the same. Not going to do much. Me and Steve did pick this one to have Cookin with Class to be the winner, but we both think it's going to be a pretty good matchup, and it could be, a steal for Steve too.
Alright guys, I got the second matchup with my ball Zach Ertz, whose last name was One Ball Wonder, and Parziale. So this week, we both picked my ball Zach Ertz to take the win this week, but again, another close matchup. And the big thing this week is the running backs again. My ball Zach Ertz, Melvin Gordon, and Dion Lewis. Dion didn't get to show too much down there in Tennessee, but Melvin Gordon proved that he's still a number 1 running back and is going to put up some huge numbers. On the other side of it, Parziale, Chris Thompson, and LaShawn McCoy. Bad running backs. LaShawn, even though he's a great talent, Bill's offense is awful this year, and he's not going to get a lot of points. And Chris Thompson, even though Washington looked pretty good, he's still not going to get the production you need. And so that's going to be tough. Wide receivers, though, fairly even. A.J. Green, Josh Gordon, and Nelson Aguilar for Ertz looks pretty good. And Thielen, Cooks, and Robbie Anderson for Parziale, another good trio. So I'm looking for a close one this week, but we both got Ertz taking this one.
Alright guys, next match we have is Ramsey's AllSucks team and Drew 2, or Drew the 2nd. We haven't really figured that one out yet. But this is a really good matchup. So Brian with Ramsey's AllSucks team is the number 1 rated team right now, and Drew 2 is rated number 3. They both have really high-powered teams. So the QBs is Deshaun Watson versus Alex Smith. I think I want Watson there versus Tennessee, but then Alex Smith is facing the Colts, so it's pretty even. But where it really starts to break up is Tyreek Hill and Keenan Allen, both huge upside guys, but the 2s and 3s is really where it matters. Demaryius Thomas and Allen Robinson, I like that better for Brian's team versus the Marvin Jones and Devin Funchess. I think the real big difference maker in this matchup is going to be the running backs. Brian has Christian McCaffrey and Ezekiel Elliott. Christian McCaffrey's doing well, but Zeke just did not get any share of the work. Meanwhile, Drew's Joe Mixon and Kamara, they both went off last week and showed their easy RB1s, and I think Kamara may be my favorite running back for this entire week. So I think that's the difference maker. And not to mention Bilal Powell and Mike Williams. I'd really rather have Drew's Mike Williams. So in the end, it's going to be a good matchup. I think they're going to put up some big numbers, but we end up having it be that we think Drew's going to win this. The number 3 is going to beat the number 1, so really good at matchup.
Alright guys, 4th matchup of the week, we've got KerryonMyWaywardSon versus Deflatriots. Now, these guys right now didn't put up too many points last week. They're ranked at the bottom of the rankings after 1 week just by points, but nothing much to say about that. But this looks like a pretty good matchup, and it's not the classic both teams have about the even. This is a very different one. KerryonMyWaywardSon's wide receivers are extremely weak this week. Chris Hogan, if he puts up a week like last week, is going to be tough. Michael Crabtree didn't do too bad, but still, Baltimore's offense with Joe Flacco is not too great. And he's got Quincy Enunwa starting, and that's always a question mark on a Jets offense that could either go off like last week or be miserable like the AFC East always is besides the Patriots. His running backs, though, David Johnson, Jordan Howard, and flex Marshawn Lynch. Solid guys, going to put up big numbers, good upside. And tight end Travis Kelce, another good guy. Look for him to go off. Now, Deflatriots, opposite story. Wide receivers extremely good. Julio Jones, Jarvis Landry, and Robert Woods, Solid core wide receivers, look for them to get the points while giving up a little bit for Royce Freeman and Alfred Morris. Decent guys, but they didn't produce much last week, and don't look for them to do it again. And although your tight end is Gronk, he's going up against Jacksonville's defense, which is going to drop his production a little bit. So, given all that, we both said that KerryonMyWaywardSon is going to squeak this one out in a very close matchup of a different type of fantasy game.
All right. The next match we have is Wannabe Winners versus Tyler's team. These are both very good teams, and I'm really looking forward to it. We're seeing Trevor's Andrew Luck versus Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford's hurt, which really drops his production down, and so I give Andrew Luck the edge over here. And the three wide receivers from Trevor is Antonio Brown, Michael Thomas, and T.Y. Hilton. It's a high-powered 1, 2, 3. Hard to keep up with, especially when Tyler brings out Juju, Sammy Watkins, and Pierre Garcon. So I think Trevor has a massive advantage when it comes to wide receivers. For running backs, it's Lamar Miller and Carlos Hyde for Trevor, and Kareem Hunt and James Conner for Tyler. I give the running back advantage to Tyler, but it's not so substantial that it really keeps up with the gap between the receivers. Tight end is Eric Ebron versus Ingram. I give that to Ingram. I don't believe Eric Ebron's going to be that great. He was on for like 41% of the snaps. Trevor did lose Doug Baldwin this week, but he had he had Randall Cobb on the bench, so that's a fantastic person to put into your flex. So I don't think he's going to be hurting too much this week in terms of that loss. Meanwhile, Kenyon Drake is on the bench for Tyler's team. Kenyon Drake did pretty well, but he didn't do amazing. So he's a decent flex play, but I don't think he's going to give you a ton of value or a ton of upside. Besides that, Philadelphia is playing Tampa Bay, and they went off last week. So if they do it again, it could really hurt, but we'll have to see. And then New Orleans, who we saw, just did not do that well, is facing Cleveland, who, did do really well. So they may just get destroyed here, so it may actually hurt their fantasy points. Overall, we're going to give this one to Trevor, the Wannabe Winners. I think it will be a pretty hefty win, but we'll have to see.
All right, thanks, Kyle. Now, the last matchup for the week is between Dakstreet's back and Cody's choice team. This one, another close one, but we both gave it to Cody this week because of some solid guys on his team. He's got Kirk Cousins, who looked pretty good last week. He's got Mike Evans, Larry Fitzgerald, and Golden Tate, solid wide receiving core. Larry Fitzgerald, although an older guy, still put up some good numbers. And his running backs, Gurley and Alex Collins, although Collins didn't have the productive week that we all thought, Gurley showed that he's going to be a top-tier running back again. Now, for Dakstreet's back, he's got Drew Brees. Like Kyle just said, Saints didn't look so good last week, but look for him to bounce back against Cleveland's defense. Even though they played good against the Steelers, I think that Brees is going to really expose them a lot more in that passing game. His wide receivers, good this week. DeAndre Hopkins, Stephon Diggs, and Sterling Shepard. Look for all three to go off, especially Sterling Shepard now with that good offense, that better offense with Saquon and Odell. That slot spot is going to be huge for Shepard. Now, his running back's a little disappointing. Jay Ajayi, and right now he's starting Tevin Coleman. Although he did pick up TJ Yeldon, so I think if you start TJ Yeldon with Fournette possibly being out, you may see a huge increase in that number from your second running back instead of Coleman. And in your flex, you got Ted Ginn Jr., decent guy, always a boomer bust guy with the touchdowns, but decent production from him. So, like we said, Cody's probably going to squeak this one out, although it's going to be another close matchup. So, alright guys, that covers this week's matchup. Just giving you guys a little update from what's going to happen from now on. What we're going to try and do is we're going to try and get some more videos out. What we're going to do is Tuesdays, we're probably going to try and get our waiver wire update and what happened from the past week. So what we'll do is we'll say, alright guys, here's the scores. We're going to analyze what we thought about the games and our predictions, if we were right, if we were wrong, who was the big players for the week, and that's what our first video of the week is going to be. Our second video is going to be just like we did tonight. We're going to recap, we're going to analyze the games, what we think, and who we want to win, who we think is going to win, big players, big moves, and that's how we're going to go from here, guys.
Well, we kept it to about 15 minutes, so it's a lot better than the half an hour we've been doing. We're going to look to keep it about 15 minutes because that seems like a really good time for a video. Besides that, that's it from Steve and Kyle. I hope you have a great week, and I hope you have a great fantasy, competition.
All right, guys. See you next time on Wannabe Winners.
Bye.